SMD Law is the official law firm of the Spartan Nation. Check them out on the interwebs at smdalaw.com or at 866-529-3537. No matter where you are in the state of Michigan, Upper Peninsula, Lower Peninsula, it doesn't matter. They have an office near you. So whether you need to send a letter to an annoying neighbor, or you're a criminal and you need defense, maybe you just have problems with elder law, check them out, smdalaw.com today. The official law firm of the Spartan Nation. Call them first, then you act.
John, I want to turn our attention to Michigan State.
Yes.
I want everyone to hear what I'm about to say, John, because sometimes people will only take in our culture 30 seconds of anyone and they run with it and they don't hear anymore. We don't have a culture that listens. Brian Lewerke's a good quarterback. I'm not questioning Brian Lewerke or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But the guy had 5 turnovers on Saturday. Got lucky, one of them got called back from the refs, but essentially threw 3 picks and 2 fumbles. He's struggling making decisions. When you take out the very short passes like the shuffle passes and those kind of stuff on the jet sweeps, his completion percentage is struggling. And Michigan State is not playing their backup quarterback. I asked Mark D'Antonio about it on Sunday night, about the fact that he even alluded to Lewerke taking risks and he's going to get hit. And, I mean, there's a chance that all of a sudden now you have no reps for your backup quarterback. He said after Andrew Maxwell struggled and eventually failed that it was their fault, that they didn't get him ready, they didn't play him more. And on top of it, you got a guy there who nobody knows is going to be good in Rocky Lombardi. We don't know, but by all reports going back to last year from kids who were in camp and, I mean, who were in practice with him and talking to coaches, he was going to be really special and really good. I think Michigan State is making a brutal mistake not getting reps. Hey, if you don't believe it's Rocky Lombardi, you got to give those reps to Theo. But they got to be giving reps to somebody. I don't think we've seen enough from Brian Lewerke to say, okay, he's our guy. We're just going to put the mast up and go with him on the ship. If you look at all the other programs around the country doing 2 quarterbacks, I'm greatly concerned. I'm not saying a 2-quarterback situation, but even giving them 2 series as a game, where am I wrong, John?
Well, that's the way the sport is right now. Look at the very top of the sport. Last year in that national title game really pretty much changed everything. Alabama takes a guy out there that's like 22-1 and ends up winning what's called the national title game, although it felt like a second SEC title game. Look at this year and look at the very top of the sport. Alabama has split some time. Clemson has been forced to, but has split time between 3 quarterbacks. Georgia has the number 1 quarterback in the country, Justin Fields. He's gotten a couple dozen plays and a couple dozen snaps. It's alarming that Michigan State hasn't done that to me to this point, and here's why. They are 115th in total offense right now. Everything must be on the table from this point forward. Everything. They cannot run the ball straight ahead. They will not be able to run the ball straight ahead this year. Everything must be on the table. They're going to have to do pretty much anything they can to try to get to the ability to run the ball. So that means they're going to need to go to some 5 wide and see what happens. That means they're going to need to go to some shotgun. If you listen to, good God, Glenn Mason wanted Michigan State to convert to the option exclusively during the game Saturday night. They're going to have to use the option as the base rushing attack. They're absolutely going to have to put Rocky Lombardi and or Theo Day into these games for a couple of reasons. 1, to find out if they can play at all, and 2, find out if their offense for some reason catches fire like it did with Connor Cook that nobody saw coming. Nobody saw that to happen the way it did. And most importantly, because that's the way the sport is right now. If you've got top-end Elite 11 quarterbacks, they're going to play some series and play some games. If Alabama is doing it, Clemson is doing it, Georgia is doing it, and you want to become and reach the level of that those programs are at, you got to start doing it if you're Michigan State. And to be honest with you, it's got to start now. It is just about, we're almost a quarter way through the season. You're 115th in total offense. Everything needs to be on the table at this point. I will never understand why Michigan State bailed out on what looked like a really good formula with Kirk Cousins about a decade ago, where he had a couple of series a game where he was going to go in, including a bowl game against Georgia on New Year's Day. I don't understand what they're doing, but at this point, you tell me if I'm crazy. Everything's got to be on the table for this offense.
And again, though, John, nobody's saying there's a quarterback controversy. We're not blaming all of the problems on Brian Lewerke. That's not what we're doing. No. But we're going back to when Andrew Maxwell didn't succeed, and D'Antonio said, we made a mistake, and they're repeating it.
Yeah, not only are they repeating it, and it could potentially really harm them. It's just the way the sport is now. This is not the same sport as it was 10 years ago. All the other schools that I just mentioned, that's literally what they're doing, is getting a good number of reps for 2 and in some cases 3 quarterbacks. Michigan State hasn't done that at all. There's no excuse for it at this time. You're 115th in total offense. You cannot run the ball. If you want to go stubborn from here, you will essentially, as I will be writing in this month's scope of the Spartans article, you're essentially asking to get hit with a hard reality, end up with an underachieving season, and really a lost opportunity. So if that's what Michigan State football wants to do, just keep doing the same thing. Otherwise, everything's got to be on the table, including and especially getting a couple of series at least for Rocky Lombardi. You got it again. Just like there's no controversy at Clemson, or really no controversy now at Alabama, because that page has been turned. There's not one at Michigan State, but they've got to get some energy and something. They got to find something that works in the offense, and that's got to include taking a look at the other quarterback options.
Well, again, and here's the deal: everything has to be on the table. If you have all of these returning starters back, a team that everyone thought would compete in the East, that everyone thought had a shot for a playoff, including every single person in that building. Every single person in that building. You cannot be married to anything, whether it's changing a concept. I mean, it is all about win now, baby, and I mean that within ethics. I don't mean you cheat, but But look, listen. I'm not advocating the firing of any coaches. Okay. But just recently, and I had it earlier, and I'll find it someone just fired their defensive coordinator.
Yeah, Wake Forest did.
Yeah, Wake Forest.
And that may, who knows if that was for football reasons or not. For God's sake, it's Wake Forest. It's not going to be a football school. But
and again, we're not advocating firing anyone. I mean, we're just saying that everything. Remember a couple of years ago when 1 week into the season, Brett Bielema fired
offensive lineman.
Yeah, offensive line coach.
Yeah, that was a pretty big move. And it worked right away, and he owned it, and they went on to kind of return to Wisconsin form right from there. This is still a team that can play at that level, the Michigan State football team in 2018, but they have 2 weeks to get there. They have to be ready to play when they go to Penn State. They cannot win the East without winning that game. As we talked about at the start of the year, the path to the East goes through Penn State, and it happens here in these next 3 weeks. It happens this week with Ohio State. Next week, Penn State has a bye, and the following week, Michigan State goes there. There is no reason that Michigan State cannot adapt and change and identify what is going to work best for this offense immediately. And that has got to include everything. It's got to include an adjustment of maybe we're going to do more zone blocking, than power blocking, or maybe more power than, obviously probably not more power than zone. But they got to show us something. It's got to be this week. The idea of holding something in or anything, that's got to be out the window. They got to worry about winning games first. So when I heard Mark Staten at halftime say that they just second half, the message was going to be run the damn ball, that really concerned me, because this is not anywhere near a good enough running team, and it will not be in 2018. There's a difference between feel and real. Michigan State feels like a power running football program, but when you look at the numbers over the years, it's really not as much of that. Not that much.
He is Spartan Nation senior writer Johnny Schott. We'll be back.